Welcome to an episode of the Roundup True Crime with Mike. I am joined here by Nichole Schmidt, Gabby Petito's mother and president of the Gabby Petito Foundation. We are also joined by her husband, James Schmidt, who is on the board of the foundation too. Before I begin, I would like to say that we will be talking about domestic violence and other sensitive issues, so it may not be suitable for all audiences. Also, any opinions expressed here are opinions of me and the guest and not for any legal advice. Thank you, Nichole and James, for meeting with me.
Thank you for having us.
Yeah, no problem.
So I was as I was saying, I'd like to talk to you about your foundation. What are your what's the purpose and what are you guys trying to do with it? So
You can start.
Uh, so the foundation was started right after we lost Gabby. Nicole, we didn't know what to do, and Nicole had an idea that she wanted to start a foundation, and we wanted to focus on domestic violence and missing persons, obviously, because that was the focus of our daughter going missing. So we started the foundation back in 2021 in October, and right now, well, from the beginning, it was really set up to assist other domestic violence and missing persons organizations that are in need of help, funding, or getting the word out, getting missing persons up on social media, using Gabby's platform to help others. Since then, it's continued to grow, and we're moving more towards prevention and education, which is really where we're looking to focus for in the future. And those are bringing prevention and education programs into schools, to our first responders, and just
okay,
overall nationwide, really.
okay, thank you. And I saw you guys were at Crime Con, so you goes and out and goes to public events. Is there any public events coming up that you guys are going to be at?
Oh, we got a lot of stuff going on. We were invited to some conferences. What's the next one? Actually, Tara and I are attending a Parents of Murdered Children conference in Vegas. So that will be, I think,
Okay.
extremely healing for us. But we are going to be going to Sacramento. I think Tara and I are also going to Portland, Oregon for a domestic violence conference. Um, We have a lot going on. So,
Yeah,
but yes,
Yeah.
we will be at CrimeCon Denver as well in 2025.
Yeah.
So I hope
I'm,
everybody's looking forward to
I
that.
am definitely looking forward to it. I only have about 30 minutes to go for that one, so don't have to travel as far for that one. So, to me, I wanted to ask your opinion because I see like five or several different areas of things regarding domestic violence. What are sorry specific topics, and I wanted to see if you guys address those or if I'm right or wrong about them. First one is like trying to teach people before they get into relationships or as they get into relationships to look for signs for potential problems down the road. Second is resources for people that are actually in those relationships on how they can get out.
Mhm.
That's the second one. Third one, I guess, would be our police officers or law enforcement or the court system trying to handle what they're supposed to do when they handle those situations. Then I guess what the court systems are supposed to do with it, and then laws that handle after something happens. So those are the kind of the five areas that I kind of see that for focus on. Would you agree with that, or is there
Yeah,
others?
you hit the nail on the head for sure. Prevention, I think, is the key, number one. So that's the one thing we need to concentrate on. Helping people get out of situations now, showing them where the resources are, how they can get help. Yeah, these are all important things that we need to do and focus. And each area is so different, and it's really difficult to tackle all of it. So we want to focus our energy as a foundation in prevention, because we
Okay.
think that's the key to the future generations, changing things. So yeah.
Okay. So I guess how early does that kind of start for prevention and starting to learn these lessons? Are we starting to get up to even as like middle school and trying to get it out at the high school levels as either courses or something like talking? I mean, there's a lot of districts that do education classes. Is that something that would get into curriculums, or is that something that they talk about?
I mean, our goal is to definitely have a curriculum within all schools that's implemented by all schools and of no cost to them. I think that would be really important. We are working on stuff behind the scenes, trying to figure out a way to make that happen. I know it's going to be years in the making, but we'll start little by little and hopefully get into as many schools as we can. But it starts as early, I would say preschool.
Okay,
Preschool, yeah. Yeah, you gotta plant those seeds really, really young, and then, middle school and high school would be concentrated, I think, because that's where the dating starts. So, yeah.
okay. So I guess the question is it hard because it's all the different states have their different curriculums, so do you have to go from state to state to work on that and not just like a federal program?
Yeah, it's
Mhm.
definitely, a little different depending on where you are in the country. We live in a very hypersensitive world when it comes to certain topics, to certain things that we don't like to talk about, domestic violence being one of them. Mental health is another thing that's something a lot of people don't like to discuss, but, we're seeing these relationships and these issues develop early on in our kids, as early as middle school, maybe sometimes sooner. So really, it's trying to navigate a very complex system. The education system is probably one of the most complex systems to try to navigate. So it's really trying to find the right way to deliver a program that is effective and works for everyone. I think is really the key.
Okay, thank you. I mean, I guess are you focusing in one specific state right now, or just trying to do them all, or how does that work?
I'd like to be worldwide, so
Right now,
yeah.
it's I would say trying to formulate the best way to deliver the program.
Yeah.
I think after COVID, the world kind of changed a lot. So
Mhm.
a lot of
Yeah.
times now, especially kids, they're digital based or online based. So really, it's developing the curriculum, developing the way to deliver it. A lot of
Mhm.
times, schools are underfunded, under resourced. So trying to make it so it's something that can be utilized in the schools and easy to implement. So our first step is really trying to develop the whole back end of it, and then from there start rolling it out. We have some contacts throughout the country and have some feelers out on where we think we can get the program going. So it's not just one area,
Yeah.
but
Okay.
yeah.
Yeah.
All right. I mean, I guess is there videos or some type of curriculum already established, or is that something that's got to be kind of worked on?
We're working on it. We're, like, in stage 1 where we're just having the conversation on what our next step is, and we have the ideas, we're putting a group of people together to implement those ideas, and then we'll work on getting them into schools slowly but surely. So, yeah, we're just stage 1, but we're going. We're
Okay.
doing
Yeah. Right now
it.
we're at like the committee stage. We formed the
Mhm.
committee. So we have people from the education world, we have people from the DV world, people from marketing and the computer world. So kind of getting them all together. And hopefully next month, I think we have an in person meeting with all of them. And from there, we'll start hopefully formulating a great plan.
Okay. If people want to help out in this area, is there anything you recommend that they could do?
Well, one way is always to donate to the Gabby Petito Foundation, and that's very helpful. It helps us in the process of developing something like this is going to cost money, so we definitely need that. But also just calling your legislators and telling them that you're interested in having programs in your schools, maybe calling your local schools and finding out what do they do to teach safe relationships. Are they teaching the kids, just finding out information, getting information, get yourself educated, and then asking them to implement that, is especially if you're a parent or even if you have grandkids. It's something that we can do to start spreading the word. I think our main focus is working together, and we can't do it alone. We can't do it as one organization. We have to work with everyone, and as a society, we have to push it. The government's not going to listen to us. The schools aren't going to listen to just us. We need everybody involved.
Okay. Thank you. Okay. I guess let's change and like talk about some of those other areas. One of
Sure.
the things I wanted to talk to you was about changing laws, and one of
Yeah.
the I was very curious what you knew about like I had heard Maryland, for example, has changed their strangulation laws. So can you explain what has changed and what they
Yeah.
did?
So, in a lot of states, up until recent last few years, it's only been a misdemeanor for non-fatal strangulation. What non-fatal strangulation is when somebody uses force on someone else, puts their hands around their neck and blocks their airway. Okay. That doesn't mean they died. So it's just the non-fatal strangulation is considered, it's a slap on the wrist. In a lot of states in the last few years, and Maryland being the most recent, I believe, it's changed to a felony. Now they're not all class A felonies, some are class B. Every state is completely different, but they have upped the charges, which is important because strangulation is a really, really good indicator of homicide.
Okay.
Yeah.
All right. So are other states looking at this too, or have you heard anything about that?
Some already have it in place.
I would
It's
say
always kind of
more than
changing.
half.
But the other issue with
Yeah.
that is a lot of states charge as a felony, and throughout the process of going through the court system, it's eventually downgraded.
Yeah.
So even though they're being charged with it, they're not always being sentenced or found guilty of a felony offense. So they're still not getting the felony sentence for it. And people who strangle are probably single-handedly one of the most dangerous people who walk the face of the earth. A woman who's been strangled by an intimate partner is at a 750% higher chance of being murdered by that same person. It's not
Yeah.
a matter of if, it's when. They're not only a danger to their intimate partner, they're a danger to law enforcement, to the public in general. And our goal is to, bring that to light more and more so they do get prosecuted as felonies so people stop doing it and we start making some effective change.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's also correct because I mean, some states strangulation is like considered like if it does go through, it's like first degree murder. In some other states, it's not automatic. So I think that's also another good rule to hopefully that some of the states will start to adopt that and make that as like first degree murder too.
It,
Yeah, it's the importance of too, like we're developing a training program for first responders, but that doesn't just include paramedics, firefighters, EMTs. It includes 911 operators all the way into the court system, nurses at the hospital. These lawyers and these judges, prosecutors, they all need this training too, because even though they're smart and they have to follow the law, knocking down a charge for strangulation is a mistake, and it
yeah.
should just not be allowed. So.
Okay.
50% of all victims who have been strangled have no exterior marks on them, but they are highly susceptible to a tremendous amount of long-term effects
Mhm.
from stroke, carotid dissections, seizures from hypoxia. It goes on and on. So even though it may not be fatal in that moment, the long-term effects on them are extremely detrimental. So it's really important for everybody to realize the severity of it.
Yep. I guess besides that, is there any other specific laws that you think should be looked at by states and in terms of domestic violence?
Well, we've been working a lot with the lethality assessment, particularly the Maryland model is the one that we like, but there are other models. It's about mandating it. A lot of states have a lethality assessment program, but it's not mandated. They don't have to use it. Each department can choose to use it. Each jurisdiction can decide if they want to or not. The ones that do typically have more success in saving survivors and getting them to safety. So for us, it's a no-brainer to mandate it. It's not a lot more work. It's really just it's part of the system of us all working together and getting these survivors to where they need to be.
Okay.
Do we have any other?
Yeah, that's probably the biggest one.
Yeah.
Uh,
We've really been concentrating on that one because, we believe in that.
it
And
Statistically, it's been found extremely effective in significantly reducing domestic violence related homicides. So
yeah,
it's really important in that
yeah.
moment.
And the Maryland model is scientifically backed and tested time and time again. So
Okay.
that's why we like that one. And there are others that are good. We back that one.
Okay. I guess switching topics. I guess another one of the areas is what's being changed in terms of how the first responders need to handle these situations. From when you always hear the sad stories of someone that goes into a police station and says, "Hey, I'm being beaten by my significant other." They don't really take it serious. They get
Mhm.
released, and then all of a sudden you hear afterwards what happens. So I'm hoping a lot of this focus on it will help change their procedures and their policies to help.
Yeah.
Do you know what's been going on with that?
Um, there's a tremendous amount of training programs out there for law enforcement and first responders. Things like identifying the primary aggressor. When you pull up, the person who is the abuser may look cool, calm, and collected, and the person who's being abused may look completely irrational and crazy at the moment, may seem like they're lying or withholding information. So, getting that basic education on what domestic violence really looks like, why a domestic violence victim doesn't leave or why they can't leave, and understanding those dynamics, I think is huge. And one of the biggest things is to believe their story, to listen to them
Yeah.
and actually hear what they're saying and to take it all in, because when you sit there and you actually listen, you may pick up on some things that you may not have realized beforehand that are domestic violence. I mean, it's not always just physical. So there's a tremendous amount of things that go along with domestic violence. So
Yeah.
getting those education programs out to them, because it is one of the most frequent calls that they go to. It's a very dangerous call for law enforcement,
Mhm.
especially. So there's a lot of good programs out there that we're just hoping that they take advantage of.
Okay.
Oh, and I didn't mention either, coercive control is something that we wanna look further into as well. And I know Micah Miller, the horrible case, we have, like, the UK has a lot of laws now, but they're not really implementing them as much as they should. I've heard good and bad things about it, but coercive control is actually a precursor to homicide, and it's not just physical. So we do need to look at bringing more coercive control laws to prosecute these abusers.
Okay. Yep. Thank you. Okay. I guess, and then I guess, and more just getting the resources for helping people be able to separate once they realize there's problems. What's going on? Where does that fit in? Do you know what's
I,
being done on that?
yeah, I mean, I think when you implement the lethality assessment program, that leads to that. So that kind of goes hand in hand. You're getting them to the resources they need. Um, In general, I think we need as the public need to make people more aware of what's out there. We always push the hotline and the domestic violence hotlines in probably the most well known. You can go to the hotline.org and chat with them. I think a lot of people like to do that rather than make the phone call. But there's other organizations, and every state has their own hotline for the most part that I know of. I know Florida has one. Every state has a coalition for domestic violence, and there's always someone you can call. You may not have a shelter in your neighborhood, but if you call the hotline, they're going to lead you to your most local resource. So we have to just keep talking about it and keep reminding people that they do have resources.
Okay. Yep. Yeah. I guess that's the hard part is being able to get that information out so that they know it when they're in trouble. Or I mean, and I guess that gets back to being able to get those numbers and those resources out even at the or in the educational programs and know that they have somebody that they can reach out to if something happens during life.
Absolutely. Yeah, I think when we implement the program for youth in the schools, one of the biggest things is we wanna remind them that they can anonymously make a phone call, they can talk to someone safely, even if they don't wanna give their name, if they know something's going on, we want kids to feel it like they're able to go talk to somebody.
Okay. I guess is there anything we got a couple more minutes. Is there anything else that you wanted to brought up or talk about before that I've missed? I know we didn't have too much time tonight, but
No, I'm sorry. Yeah, no, this is a great conversation. I think, we just need to keep talking about, domestic violence as an epidemic in the world. It's not just this country, it's everywhere. And survivors telling their stories and, just these conversations have to happen more often, the ones that we're having right now. Wanna add
Yeah.
to that?
No, no, you hit it spot on. It's just having those open conversations with people. Oftentimes they're in these situations, they feel they're alone. There's nobody that they can turn to. If you know somebody that's in that situation, the best thing you can do is just be supportive of them best you can, and guide them to resources. They may not go on the first time or the second time, but just always be there, and be there, someone to listen to them.
Yeah.
That's what they want and that's what they need. So just keep talking about it, and what's healthy and what's not healthy, and what a
Yeah.
respectful relationship looks like.
Yeah, and, the hotline, the national domestic violence hotline is 800-799-SAFE, which is, 7233. I always forget the number at the end. But yeah, 800-799-SAFE, but they also have a chat, like I said. That's an important number to have, and you don't have to be a victim. If you have a family member or a friend in trouble, you just need to call and ask questions. They're there for that as well. They can't pick up every call sometimes, so if you're put on hold, keep trying, especially if you're in a situation that you really need help in. But if you're in danger, you must call 911. You have to get out of that situation. Don't call the hotline. But yeah.
Okay. Well, I'd like to thank you for taking the time to talk to me this afternoon. Hopefully, we'll get a chance to talk again. Can you hang out a few more minutes after I stop the recording?
Yeah,
Absolutely.
absolutely.